Chapter 24, The Return.
Right. The cliffhanger of, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen to Din? I mean, it doesn't start with that. It starts with Bo and the rest of the Mandalorians on the run.
They're running away. Yep.
They're getting harassed by the super commandos in the tunnels. They're running away.
Yep.
And then we get Din. And Din, thank God, is just like, there's only two of you. He doesn't say it, but It's just like, dude, there's only two of you. You took my weapons away, but I do pretty good unarmed. And so he starts fighting his way loose, and he almost gets the upper hand. He takes out one of the two guards, but the other one's about to, like, I forget, shoot him or whatever. And he's like on his back, and Grogu just shows up.
Yeah. No.
Grogu just shows up. No. And just like beats the last guard down. And then this is throwback all the way to season 1. He's spraying Din with Bacta, right? It's the healing spray that IG-11 or what is it, IG-12, whatever it is, sprayed on him when he was injured at the end of season 1. So it's like, oh, you okay, Dad? But it just gotta hand wave it. Like, how did Grogu get there? Like, at least when we see Bo and the spies on the run, like, you don't see Grogu, so it's not like we just don't know how we ended up here. Which, of all the things, I don't know to like give a shit about. Is it like, what? Wait, it just had something teasing, right?
Yeah.
Some little hint, even if the scene of like Bo and the spies on the run, right? If they just get to a point where they're like, they stop, maybe they're still under fire, and then she's like, shit, where's Grogu? Right? And then we cut to Din, then it works, right? Just something. Or even we cut to Din, he's being carried away, he starts his fight, and there's just a perspective, a camera going down hallways, turning down hallways, getting closer, right? And if, I don't know, this is totally off the top of my head, but they could have kind of fucked with people if they had played up when Gideon shows up in his power armor and we hear the servos. If we heard his clanking walking and it sounded similar to Grogu's walking, and so if you're like, oh shit, is this Gideon coming? And it's his dun, dun, and it sounds like servos because it's Grogu servos, right? Then it's like, it's not Gideon, right? It maybe even just like a little scene, like Bo and the spies are on the run, and then you have a quick scene of like Gideon, like, I feel like interrogating my prisoner now, and he starts clanking off, and then you cut to Din, right? And then you cross cut to this perspective with the clanking and the servos, and it's actually Grogu.
That'd be cool.
Would have worked so much better.
Yeah.
So anyway, Grogu rescues Din, and then I think we cut back to the survivors with Bo. They fly out of one cave and into another.
Right. Then that's also where I find out about how the jetpacks can go into upper atmosphere.
Oh yeah, because I think she's like gets Axe on comms and tells him, because he left way before the ties are, and she's like, yo, you got ties incoming, tell them bring the ship down, or no, use the ship as a decoy, right? Bring everyone else down where you got to retake it. All right, so he goes to do that. Bo and the rest of the survivors hide in the cave with the garden, right? The interesting is like all these notes. It's like so many of these things. Now we're into action. A thing happens. A thing happens. A thing happens.
Yes.
A thing happens. But not a character thing happens, right? Right. It's now we're doing plot. So I saw Guardians of the Galaxy today with Dana.
Okay.
And they have problem. This other problem, we're doing this, but all the time there's always a part to it where there's some character beat happening, and it's either it's an interpersonal thing happening, or it's their own issues, problems getting in their own way, causing them to do a thing, right? Where it's changing the direction instead of just like, oh, plot, solution, plot twist, blah blah blah. Like there's always a character beat, a character moment in there. And while the action again works, now for a while we just get into a bunch of plot stuff where it's just like, well, this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and no real character thing happens, which I think there's a couple things where it's like, well, why did they do that? Or why did they do this? But like, no real character stuff happens for like, almost 20-30 minutes.
That's why it's kind of weird when you see like the different beats of things happening. Because like I have like notes like, you know, like Axe going into upper atmosphere, like Din is trying to escape and Grogu saves him, and then like Moff Gideon goes to take out Din himself, and all the flying ships, and then Mando have, you know, left the ship and headed to the surface and asked R5 to deactivate the shields. It's just like stacking. And it's funny how when you're watching it, you're just kind of following through. But when you kind of think about it, it's like, it's almost like it was so much stuff being thrown out. It's like, it's not a straight through narrative. It's just on these different layers. And it's funny how you could watch stuff and process a certain kind of way. But when you try to speak on it, when it's laid out, it's wow. Technically, the timeline could all be at the same time. And it's just kind of like, but when you're watching it, you kind of put that piece with the two pieces below it, and you take that piece and you know that's part of that situation.
Doing this sort of split narrative, right?
Yeah.
Is really hard.
It is.
So like Return of the Jedi is classic like split narrative, because we have 3 separate narratives happening towards the later half of the movie. Once the climax starts, right? You've got the battle on the surface of Endor. You got battle in orbit of Endor with the Death Star, and then you've got Luke, Vader, and the Emperor. 3 separate narratives that we're cutting back and forth between. And I think they're trying to do a similar thing. I think not just because it's Star Wars, but just because when it works, it really works.
Yes. But
at least one of those usually has to have an emotional component to it, where it's like the other ones, the other 2, or the side, the B plot, whatever it is, they're mostly of will they, won't they succeed. But then the core one has to have some sort of emotional component. It's a character struggle, right, as opposed to just a battle. It can also be a fight, right? Luke and Vader is also a fight, but we don't really get that. So let me run through just a list here of shit that happens. Bo hides in a cave. The TIEs head towards the fleet. I think they go like through whatever the giant cloud cover is. Gideon, somehow, he's got a holo display in his like shadow council room of like the map of the base, and he's clearly tracking Din and Grogu.
Yep.
And
red and green.
Red and green, which just, it raises some question later where it's like, you know where they are.
Yeah.
Why? We'll get to it. Why do you let them go where they go?
Yeah.
So then, like you said, he's like, hey, R5, come out of hiding, you little scaredy cat, and slice the base to take down these shields, right? Because you told us where Gideon is. We have to go through this hallway. There's all these shields with these super commandos. I'm going to have to fight my way through them. You need to take the shields down one at a time. Then we cut back to Axe, who has been flying through the atmosphere the whole time to get to orbit. And this poor guy has got to throw off so many commands in such a short amount of time. Yeah. They manage to do it in a way where the audience can follow along, because there's a lot of stuff he's got to do. Yeah. So we have incoming TIEs. You need to get on all the drop ships to go down to the planet as reinforcements. We're going to abandon the light cruiser. I'm going to pilot as a decoy. You lay that all out. And the things that's not answered is what happened to the Gazanti transports that they had, and what happened to the Talon starfighters that they also had. You know, the things that might have fought off the TIE. It could have been just one extra line of like, Gazanti's Talons, retreat back to Navarro. Go back to Navarro. Yeah. You can't fight off the TIEs. They're too good. Whatever. Yeah. No, that scene was go warn them, get up there, evacuate everybody, and ghost ride the ship. Right? And the thing is, like, I feel like there was a bigger space battle that they wanted.
It's possible.
And I don't know if it was in pre-production they changed their mind, or post-production they changed their mind, or like during shooting they're like, eh. But it seems like you set up that fleet with all that stuff and the starfighter, and then it's just like, yeah, no, we're just gonna do this.
Because even even when I was watching it, it was just weird to see are really these dark troopers and the Mandalorian, they really gonna just fly with jetpacks one by one, just pew pewing each other? That's where
Apparently they do.
That's where the ships would have been. I was thinking like that's not very practical, but like I said, if they would have had those ships, it would have took away those moments. Because really, they shouldn't be out there flying 101 as if you're doing some groundwork. You know what I mean? Like you could, your jetpack around out of fuel and you could just die. You could fall to your death or get shot and it explodes.
Right.
It's just not practical. Now they look cool, yeah, it look cool as hell. But like I said, I think that's the reason why they didn't have those ships around, because the ships wouldn't be able to maneuver around them, and if the ships were there, they would probably be on them and not on the outside, sporadically flying down, shooting each other one shot at a time.
And apparently their outfits are also equipped for space, not just underwater. Because they're just,
hey man, you suction, remember?
Right, jumping out of it. So to go back to Axe using his jetpack to get all the way up out of orbit.
One tank.
So here's a thing that would have made that so much more dope, where you cut to the bridge of the light cruiser, and you're like, hey, first officer, we're getting a signal, put it through, right? And it's scratchy and it becomes clear, and it's Axe, right, transmitting, and he's like shouting orders, and also, someone pick me up, I'm almost out of fuel. Right? And it's this moment of like, he gets out, he transmits all the things, and it's like, someone come get me. Also, if I die, someone needs to take the ship, and he just drops back into the clouds. And it's one of those, the drop ships, or maybe one of the Talon ships, just like darts in.
Yeah.
And then it comes out a couple seconds later, and he's grapple hooked onto it.
That's dope.
Pulling himself in, stands on the starship, and he's like, get me to the bridge now. Right? Like, just this bit of like, yo, that guy pretty much was ready to take one for the team.
Right.
Just to get the word through, and fell back into what would have been death, and they just barely caught him in time. I'm going to let it go. But it would have been cool. But anyway, they come down. They're like, we're gonna bring reinforcements, and it's so weird because it's like they have this shot of like the drop ships disappear into the clouds, and then seconds later the TIEs show up, and start just fucking up that light cruiser. All right, and then we're back down to Din, and finally R5 starts opening up the shield walls that are blocking him off from the super commandos, and there's two behind each set. Exactly. And he has to solo them.
Yes.
One at one after another.
Yeah.
This scene, the very first set that he takes out.
Yeah.
He's just scrambling for weapons. So like at one point he has the vibro knife that I think he took off one of the other ones, and he's about to get shot. He throws it right under the guy's helmet into his neck and kills him. And the trooper falls back into a pit, and Din's lunging forward to try and grab the gun out of his hand, and just is a second late.
Yeah.
Damn it. He's like picking up another knife, and he's just like, fuck it. And he goes through, I think, 4 sets of these pairs, shields, stun batons, and just trucks his way through, and it's perfect. There's no notes. It's
and you got the
so
tension.
well done.
You got the tension from R5. R5 is going through its thing, and so he's
getting harassed by the mouse droids.
Exactly. So he can't get to the next shield. So he's like constantly like shield. Yeah, that was cool for the extra tension. But yeah, it reminded me of the scene with Darth Maul and Obi-Wan, and they kind of waiting between the shields.
Oh yeah.
And they got to take time. So you have like Darth Maul like a caged bear or something, or a lion,
playing his lightsaber on the energy field.
Then you got Obi-Wan just kind of like meditating in between, even though that's not what Din was doing. But I'm just saying, it just reminded me of that scene where they just get into the next one, let more in. So Yeah.
Well, speaking of the next one, the room after this, after he clears out all the things, and this is why Gideon's choice of like, oh, I know where they are.
Mhm.
I'm gonna let him come, maybe fight his way. Like, dude, you know Din is a really good fighter. You shouldn't be taking, because what is behind the hallway of Super Commandos is Gideon's cloning setup.
Yep. The one
And
that
it's
was
like,
shown
why
before.
did you let him get anywhere near this? This is the thing you have been working on.
Mhm.
Like, you know where they are. Send all the Super Commandos to kill them.
Yeah.
You think you're playing cat and mouse? But man. Okay, so all right, he's fighting his way through the hallway. All right. Maybe I, Gideon, my Praetorian guards, and 20 other super commandos should be right there to stop. Whatever.
Since you know they're
They
coming.
didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. It was interesting.
So then, okay, they find the clones. Oh, it's his clones. And then they activate the self-destruct, I guess, and just kill all the clones. And it's like, Gideon, you got played, fool.
You played yourself.
You played yourself. You fucking played yourself. So we cut back to Bo. Underground, they have garden caves. Like, Mandalore can recover. They're actually farming them. Like, they found them, and they're like, oh, well, let's plant these. Like, let's regrow. Mandalore can recover. Like, okay, cool. And then the reinforcements fucking show up, and everyone's like, all right, here we go. We're jetpacking in. We're gonna destroy Gideon's base.
Swarms.
Right? And gonna take back our planet. And I think as they're entering the chasm, it was cool, but it could have been a little cooler. Bo-Katan ignites the dark saber, like leading the charge.
Yeah.
Like, it works. Please understand, dear listener, it works. It could have worked a little bit more. I don't know. It's like, okay, cool, but it would have been one thing if, like, they just had a thing where it's like she ignites it, and then all the Mandalorians do some sort of battle cry. Right? Because that's the classic thing. The king unsheaths the sword, charge, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
And then they have a crazy jetpack fight. Holy shit.
That's what I'm saying. It looks cool, but that's what I was thinking. Like, this is kind of like nuts. That this is not practical. I really, and it wasn't a good time for me to feel that way. But when I saw him, I'm like, I think it really made it stand out is the fact that she did like the sword, and it's just like, okay.
And
like,
she was killing fools midair with it. Like, they had lots of little cool combat vignettes.
Was great. It
like,
looked
she was
realistic.
getting chased by two.
Yep.
She landed and baseball slid over and off a platform, flipped around.
It was beautiful.
Hovered and fired her knee rockets and took them. And, like, there's lots of really dope. The armor was like literally hammering people to death.
Exactly.
Like, and it was fairly easy to follow. Again, it was fairly well done.
It wasn't mucky at all. It was very clean. It was very clean. But they wanted certain shots to happen. They wanted certain things to happen a certain kind of way. And they had to make sure that it was laid out that way so those things could happen. And that's fine. But, you know.
This is not a specific complaint of this episode. This is a complaint about this type of thing where Group A of soldiers versus Group B of soldiers, and usually on some, like, older medieval battlefield. Nowadays with guns and stuff doesn't make as much sense, but it's like, oh, the two armies collide and suddenly everyone is just magically all sprinkled together having one-on-one combat, and there's like no squad tactics, no group tactics, not like, I get that's probably harder to write and coordinate and storyboard instead of like, here's a cool combat scene, here's a little cool combat vignette, and it's just like stuff's happening as opposed to like, we're doing this, blah blah blah, whatever. Tons of movies and TV show have that fault. I just found my note of my clones, why risk Din finding clones? He's like, he's gonna add, I was going to add the Force to the clones and make the perfect hybrid.
I thought that was very once again, that kind of reminded me of Bison, from because it's laying out the whole plan, and So Din and Moff Gideon get their face off, and he gives them the plan, and about making the force sensitive clones of himself, and
Right, then it'll be the perfect amalgamation of everything.
It's just kind of, they just did that dump, and I don't know, like you had more time than before. Like you could have did it a different kind of way. You could have did it cleaner. You could have either give us some credit and don't be so blatant with what's going on or saying it like that. It's like either you trust us to know, or just don't put it in a slicker way. Either one.
Well, yeah, and again, I think I was talking about this last time of like a lot of these things they should have been sprinkling in throughout the entire season, of having those little cutaways to Gideon or to Elena Kane, like whatever their plot doing is.
Right.
5 minutes or less an episode. What are they doing? What are they doing? Oh, he's got clones. Yeah. What is he trying to do with the clones? Da da da. Like you build him up as a threat, and then you don't have to have these sort of exposition villain speeches.
Exactly, because when you have a good actor like that, it's almost like when they start talking like that, you really pay attention to what they're doing. So, but then you really notice the trick too.
Yeah.
So if you like Sam Jackson, he delivers things a certain kind of way. He has a voice and a presence. So when you do exposition dumps with him, it's very obvious versus some other guy that was having a conversation sitting at the bar and kind of slid some information that you didn't know, or you overheard something. Because that thing could have came out with the force sensitive thing. The doctor could have been talking about how he was working on a mesh for that kind of thing. But you're not knowing this for Moff Gideon until later. And be like, oh, that was him. Right. Oh, I thought he was trying to clone somebody else, but he's trying to do it. It could have been like that, because you had the doctor explaining what he used to do. You could have had that early on, so it's, it kind of just making the actor into that, that guy,
Yeah, and it's tricky because it's like, again, you have to find some way of introducing that organically in whatever way, but it just, and
it's so much going right, and he has so much going on, so much time. They could have put that in somewhere, but like I said, it just kind of very boss fight, Street Fighter-ish vibes.
Yeah, and then we just get into some fights.
Yeah,
and some of these are questionable. So Din's fighting Gideon. Okay, cool. But then the Praetorian Guard show up, and it's like, oh crap! Like I gotta fight these guys, and they're fucking Din up. Yeah. To be very clear, they got him pinned, and it's like, oh no, we saw Paz get taken out by these guys.
Right.
And then Grogu shows up. No. And then the Praetorian Guards start fighting Grogu, and they like go off to a side room. And then the mech suit gets disabled pretty quick, which, okay, let's be clear, that's not a surprise. Like,
right.
Praetorian Guards versus a clunky droid that's being, if it was the actual IG-88, they'd be worried, but it's Grogu with 2 joysticks.
Right.
So it gets disabled, he jumps out, and he's flipping around on the lights above, and they're like, oh, we can't kill this child. And then we cut back to Din and Gideon, and Bo shows up.
Okay. I try hard not to roll my eyes, because it's just like...
Did she straight up say, I got this? That's what I wrote down.
Me too. Then it was like this, I got this moment, And she might not have said that, but when she walked in and did that, I thought of like Endgame, where you see all the women of Marvel come in, and Peter's like,
I don't know how you're going to get through all that.
Don't worry. She's got health.
Everybody walks up, we got this. And then you see like the Wasp and Gamora, and you have
all of them. And then it's just like, yeah, we're going to give it to Captain Marvel, and she's just going to go straight to
and we got her back. We got this. And it's just like, so we got this moment. Like, really? It's just like...
It could have been better. Because, like, so...
I guess it could have been worse too.
Oh, it could have been worse. Could have been worse. But it didn't feel like I'm a woman and I got this. It didn't feel like that at all.
No, but she was a woman and she got it, and so that's why. What's that, like that Dave Chappelle joke we're talking about, the woman getting upset?
The girl gets mad and says, oh, wait a minute. Just because I'm dressed this way does not make me a whore. Which is true. Just because they dress a certain way doesn't mean they are a certain way. Don't ever forget it. But ladies, you must understand that is fucking confusing. Now that would be like me, Dave Chappelle the comedian, walking around the streets in a cop uniform. Somebody might run up on me. Oh, thank God. Officer, help us. Come on, they're over here. Help us. I'm like, oh, just because I'm dressed this way does not make me a police officer. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, all right, lady, fine. Fine. You are not a whore. But you are wearing a whore's uniform. I'll tell you that shit right now.
It's like, so when something happens that fits the situation, I'm thinking that because that's how it looks. And so it was I got this moment. And even though
it might have honestly been better served if there wasn't a one-liner.
Maybe.
If
yeah.
she just came in and started just going to town on Gideon. Right. There's bits of this what I feel like the theme we're getting to like could have been done so much better. So Bo shows up. I got this. Din goes to help Grogu. They fight off the Praetorian, right? And we come back to Gideon and Bo, and he's got fucking power armor. Like at one point, like she gets the Darksaber like right across his chest, and he just kind of like boom, and like knocks her back.
Yeah,
because he's got fucking Beskar armor. Like he's got power. He's running the show at the moment, and so again he's like, well, you can surrender, or you can keep fighting. Blah blah blah, and of course she doesn't surrender. She's gets pissed off and goes back at it. And then we cut back, and so Grogu starts assisting now by force pushing Gideon.
Okay, now we can't skip over the force jumping on the Raptors.
He's force jumping on the Raptors. Din shows up, and then he gets knocked down. Din shows up and helps him, and then he starts force chucking these guys around.
The rafters fall on top of the baby Grogu, the little piping, and he's stuck. No, no, no. And I'm like, okay, he's already in danger. He has these warriors trying to kill him, and he's trying to get away from them. You didn't have to drop the pipes across him where he couldn't get up. You know what I mean?
Well, there's actually a character moment here.
Okay,
there is actually a character moment here because you can see he's trying to use the force very slowly to move this otherwise, presumably, not super heavy pipe. For him, it's heavy, but compared to a person, it's probably not that heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's getting it off, and he's like, "Oh no, the Praetorian guard's gonna come and hit me!" And Din comes in and saves him.
Yeah, after he's told to go save his son.
Right after he's told to go save his son.
Mm-hmm.
But Din is struggling against the Praetorians because there's again 3 of them.
Yeah.
And they bested him before.
Yeah.
So Grogu struggles to get the pipe off of him.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to Din being in trouble, he starts chucking people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily smash him against the wall, but now he's like, oh, okay, I gotta help Dad. I gotta help Dad, right? Mm-hmm. And it's one of those, it's sort of the classic thing is like, I can't really help myself, but I will turn into goddamn Superman to help someone else, right?
Yeah.
Like that is a total personality trait people have in the real world. Like they will not stand up for themselves,
right?
But they will turn into a 10-ton gorilla to help anyone else. And this is Grogu stepping into his power a little bit more.
Yeah. And something similar to this happens shortly after this as well.
Oh yeah, he gets the big upgrade. So he helps Din. Now the cruiser's coming down out of the orbit, and Axe is like, "Yo, clear the fuck out! I'm coming in hot. I'm blowing this fucker up."
Right.
And so now we're back with Gideon and Bo, and he gives her last surrender chance. And now it's like, you can surrender, and I'll give you a warrior's death. Like you give me the Darksaber, and I will just kill you off. I'll kill you quick. I'll be nice about it. Right? He's still playing with his food. And again, she's like, fuck that shit, and tries to take him out. And he catches her hand with the Darksaber and crushes her hand and the Darksaber.
Yes.
which there were some people who were like, no, the dark saber. It's like that thing needed to get fucking broken. So say a thing, 'cause I got lots to say.
Oh no, I was kind of taken back by it because it was such a big deal for so long, but then also it's also a testament to of saying like they don't really need it anyway. The power was always inside of you. Blah blah blah.
Right. And this is the theme that they wanted, that they set up, right? They start to set up that, oh, we have this division that's keeping the clans apart, right? So many civil wars and all this sort of stuff. And Gideon says Mandalorians are weak without their trinkets, right? When you lose your trinkets. And Bo says Mandalorians are stronger together, which is like, cool, great. There's the theme. We shouldn't have been infighting the whole goddamn. It's like tale as old as time. It's not quite power of friendship, right? But it's the power of united front. That said, it's like, oh, okay. Like the just nothing wrong with Katie Sackhoff's delivery. Like the acting was fine. Just the line, I felt like they gave so much time for Gideon to twirl his mustache.
Yeah.
It really needed Bo a moment to have 3 sentences.
Okay.
Right? Because like even one long sentence or 2 sentences, like having her agree with Gideon is like, yeah, this fucking stupid trinket has caused us so many fucking problems. Mandalorians aren't strong because of weapons, and she can throw it down. I love characters throwing weapons down in Star Wars. Luke did it first. It's so good. Even if she's gonna, pick up another weapon to attack him, but she's throwing down the symbol of their infighting, right? Weapons don't make us strong. The armor doesn't make us strong. When Mandalorians stand together, we are strong, right? Something along it would have been so much better.
But that would have been dope if she was in front of all the Mandalorians fighting in front of them, so they could see her doing that and saying
because what it does need, and we get a little bit of this because we get after this, like she's like, Mandalorians are stronger together, and then Din and Grogu basically come in, save her bacon, and now it's the 3 of them together,
which
right?
It ends up that way, yeah.
Right? If she had something where it's like, even if I don't beat you, so long as Mandalore is united, if I did that, they're gonna drive you out of here, right? And then it's like, oh shit, maybe she is going down. Then Din can show up. Then Grogu can show up. The armor can show up. Koska can show up, right? They beat him together. Now they do that with 3 characters instead of the rest of them, right?
Yeah.
But it needed to tie in more than just her, Din, and Grogu together. We beat you, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Which, okay, you can show his forces losing because look, there's a Children of the Watch Mando and a Night Watch Mando back to back beating your troops, and there's another group of them fighting together as one beating your troops. It was the division of the dark saber and other stupid shit that weakened us, right? It's you gotta try and get that in like a sentence, 2 sentences, right? It's gotta be snappy.
Yeah, I love the proclamation, but like I said, I think she needed a different audience for it, because she's almost saying that if she said it in front of Din and Grogu, she's preaching to the choir, which isn't bad, and she has nothing to really prove to him anyway, because it's not for. She's saying it to him, but it's not really for him. It's for those who are not understanding where she,
If you want to solve the audience question,
yeah,
you get a double moment for Bo if she does this, where she does whatever that little speech is, right? Right? Even if it's this, or if it's just, another sentence extra of like, it's not this that makes us strong, right? It's not just this makes us strong. It's not this, and it is that, right? You reject the lie, you embrace the truth. If she turns on her comm unit,
right,
so that all the other Mandalorians hear her, and it becomes a call,
right,
to come help, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pin down Gideon, and then you can drop the cruiser on him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That would have been, because
So-
because you would need an audience for that. Because like I said, Din's all in
come
already.
together.
Because Din's already
Right? Din's in already.
Right, because like out of everybody, he's the one that wasn't really tripping about that saber anyway. So if it was destroyed or not, he didn't really trip about it, really. So he never had a struggle about it. He had never had a problem giving it away. He didn't. It wasn't his thing. So it being destroyed, even though it's kind of like, wow, that got destroyed, I thought that it could have been done a different way. The sacrifice of the saber could have paid more bills in a different situation. But it was fine. But I will say, so when... Okay, so I guess it gets to the point where, Moff is getting triple teamed by Bo-Katan and Din and Grogu, right?
Getting knocked back towards the edge.
And you know what's funny? Where I wrote down from when I saw it, I wrote down my notes for this scene was like Moff Gideon got destroyed by a triple team, a fireball, and the
Power of love. That's the power of love.
I mean, you're not wrong.
And it's just kind of like, because even with because I knew when the ship went down and the explosion and everything, and you just have him in one of those classic moments, it reminds me of like Die Hard, where the bad guy is just screaming to his death, yippee-yi-yay, mother effer, and he just, and he gets shot off the screen on fire or whatever. And then it's the classic, like, cover your face. And then you just look up and you see you're protected. It's almost like the same thing that Groot did on Guardians of the Galaxy. When the power got too much and Groot, just like, we are Groot, and he covers everybody up with the vines and he's protecting his loved ones. Like the power of love protected them from the forces of the explosion of the whatever, fireball or whatever. And I'm not knocking it, but it was just, this show has so many different tones and things going on where it's trying to be mature, it's trying to be kiddie, it's trying to be deep, it's trying to be shallow. It's so many faces all at once, just all stuck together, in this one situation. And they do a damn good job of that. We've seen the other shows that couldn't decide and chose one too many or didn't have the right person driving and it fell apart. So
at least there was a theme.
Yes, it was.
There was a theme.
It was, but it was a lot of stuff in here too. Like I said, if it wasn't so cool, it would be like, I'll forgive it because it's cute, or I'll forgive it because it's slick. It was a lot of that for me, especially in these last two. It's kind of like, I'll let that slide because of okay, that was slick. But
so
yeah.
when Bo has her little moment of like we're stronger together, right after the Darksaber's crushed.
Yeah.
Again, to my wanting her to reject the Darksaber, right, because it caused all these things. Did you ever watch that I think it's from the 90s movie Major Leagues?
I've seen it before.
It's a baseball movie, right? It's like a whole bunch of like screw up
Wesley Snipes and stuff is on it and all that.
Wesley Snipes, yes.
Okay, I remember it. Yeah.
So they also had Dennis Haysbert,
the Allstate guy.
Yeah, Allstate.
Good
he's the president on
hands
24.
with Allstate.
So he's playing. Oh God, he's playing probably like a racist stereotype character. Early in his career, he probably didn't have a choice. It's the fucking 90s. They don't write minority characters well. He's supposed to be like from the Caribbean. He's the power hitter, right?
Yeah.
And his whole thing is like, if he can hit the ball, it's out of the park. But he's really not very good at hitting the ball.
Right.
And he has in his locker, in the locker room, he has his little, I don't know how to describe it respectfully. A little tiki god. I don't know if it's supposed to be a voodoo god. Again, it's a voodoo spirit.
You're great, Ryan.
It's written by a bunch of racist white dudes. Let's be clear. But it's Jobu, and Jobu's supposed to be this little, I don't know, dark. It's written by fucking Christians, but it's supposed to be like this evil little demon spirit that's supposed to help him be better at baseball, and everyone's giving him shit all the way through the movie of like, you're fucking weird because we're not respectful of other religions, right? But he's like, no, Jobu, I'm gonna do my offerings, I'm gonna give respect to Jobu, and Jobu's gonna make me a better hitter.
Yeah.
And we get to the end of the movie, it's like the last out, he's up, he's got 2 strikes against him already, and he steps out of the battery box, and he has the scene. He's holding up his bat, and he's talking to Jobu, and he's like, "Jobu, I stand up for you. I give you offerings, and you don't help. You don't do shit." And he says, "Fuck you, Jobu. I do it myself." And I wanted that for Bo-Katan and the Darksaber. It's like her, and by extension the Mandalorians need to go, not the Darksaber, not infighting.
Right.
Mandalorians united, right? I don't know why that scene came to mind.
Ryan,
fuck you, Darksaber. I do it myself.
You are funny. You were like, I'm not gonna let this potentially racist, bad written 90s movie that had heart mess up my connection and my metaphor that I'm trying to use it for. Like this bad writing is not gonna get in my way of me using this as an example.
Let's call it culturally insensitive, right?
But I love it. You just breaking it down. It's like, I get to this part. Okay, landmine. Okay, disclaimer. And then you be like, oh, landmine. Another disclaimer. I love it. Yeah, that was beautiful. You're like, I'm trucking through this. It got the good part in there at the end. I was gonna, let me just,
dodge some cultural landmines there. Oh, the 80s and 90s.
Oh, that was great. I love it.
So they team up 3-1. They push Gideon to the edge. They pepper him with shots. He fires off a rocket, and I love how Din comes up to cover Grogu and barrage Gideon.
Yeah.
And then Bo jumps in with her arm shield to cover Grogu. And Grogu's like, you don't get your little electro saber, knocks that away, kicks him back. And then the cruiser comes down and takes him out. Done. But then there's the giant fireball. Yeah. And like you said, it's like, oh, don't look.
It's the
Power of love.
Cover your eyes. And just like Grogu could amp up to protect Din, and he did this in season 1, like a flame trooper tried to get him.
Yeah.
He just barely didn't get fried.
Yeah.
But now he's like, well, I'm protecting Dad, and I'm protecting you two should hook up Mom, right? And just does a nice big force bubble around him, and the flames, slow motion play around them. They're all nice and safe.
Yeah.
Yay.
Power of love.
And then we get to the denouncement, right? All everything after that. And Vizsla's kid gets rechristened in the Mines of Mandalore. And it's interesting, and someone I saw pointed this out online. When she's going through the christening and the do this and you will live up to this and you will abide by this and the thing that's omitted is she doesn't say, and you will never take off your helmet. You will never show your face.
I noticed it,
right? Because in the beginning of the season, this is really the big bookend change. And it's I didn't catch it originally. It's only because someone else online was like, hey, did you track that the armorer didn't say, and you will keep your fucking helmet on like a proper Mandalorian?
Yeah.
So they didn't call attention to it, and he put his helmet on, he kept it on, and that's fine. But it's maybe a sign that they're loosening up a little bit, right? That the creed doesn't have to mean that, right? It's all the other parts that are important.
But I knew that wasn't going to be an issue like before, is because that Grogu is his apprentice. It is no way that he's gonna wear a helmet. No way.
Not for marketing.
So, right. So it had to be a loophole some kind of way. And if he was gonna be a Mandalorian or be a Mandalorian's apprentice, he was gonna have to not have a helmet. So to think of it being optional would have had to been a factor.
Yeah. And I mean, they also kind of set up the Bo, she walks in 2 worlds, right? So it's a little loosening of standards, but it's still, at least ignoring those external factors.
Right.
Of course they want
but
face visible.
And at the time I didn't notice that either. But I figured it wouldn't have been an issue, like I said, because I'm like, he's not gonna.
Yeah. And then Din comes walking up with Grogu. I gotta start using Din's proper name as opposed to his apparently surname first.
I guess so.
Ugh.
We find out that, because of the new title that
Right?
Grogu gets.
So he carries Grogu up and he's like, hey, I want him to step up from foundling to my apprentice. I'm gonna make him my apprentice so I can start training him in the next level of being a Mandalorian. And she's like, yo, he needs to be able to sing the song. He can't speak yet. He's too young. Can't do it. Like,
And he's 9 inches.
he's 9
tall.
inches. Like, did you see that giant fireball he dodged? But she's like, only his parents can allow him to do that, and they're not here, or they're dead. And Grogu's like, oh, sad face. And Din's like, all right, fine, fuck it, I'm adopting him. He's mine now, and then I can say he's my apprentice because he's my son.
Mhm.
And feelings and
Right.
feelings, and so he's added to the song and blah blah blah. And it works. And then Bo with the armor relights the forge, and like all the Mandalorians are together, and yay, they're restarting Mandalore.
Right.
And then we get a short scene where Din goes back to the
Navarro.
New Republic camp, talks to Captain Teva, and he's like,
Oh.
"You're gonna give me jobs.
Yep.
I'm gonna deal with all your problems." And it's a fun scene, but also I feel like this is another way. And again, also with the writer strike going on right now, I did see a thing the other day with Jon Favreau, and he was like, season 4 is already written. We
Oh,
wrote
wow.
it during post-production for season 3. It's in the can. No worries. So as far as the writer strike, 4 is good. I wonder if, again, some of the plot points and plans that they wanted for Rangers of the Republic,
Mhm.
if now instead of Kara or whatever the character's name was, her going and doing these particular adventures, we're just going to insert Din and Grogu, keep their personal story going, but they're dealing with a different set of sort of threats and issues,
Huh.
right? Because then we get to whatever things we're going to get set up in Rangers of the Republic, we can do that with Din and Din Djarin and Grogu. That's totally
Dennis-
speculation on my part.
So did that show get canceled?
It's canceled, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then of course, yeah. That makes sense then that they would.
So I don't know. That might be just me wildly speculating. They might have already had like an arc plan for season 4. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
I
but-
think that the other small thing from that scene was like, hey, there's an IG head. That's how you're going to pay me up front for taking on these jobs that I just told you you're going to give me. And so they go back and they give a plot of land, right, to
Right.
Din. And then Din's like, that's cool. Also, by the way, you got a new marshal, so it doesn't have to be me.
Right.
And it's IG-11. He's been reprogrammed. Hello, I am your new marshal. I shall protect and serve. It's like, okay, RoboCop.
Right.
I wasn't upset by it. I was like, oh, okay.
I thought it was interesting. They can have droids anyway, but they don't make him a sheriff. I thought it was interesting.
Well,
Mm.
basically, combat droids are one because of the Separatist War, right?
Yeah.
Persona non grata, and any sort of combat droids, even outside of the ones used in the Separatist War, usually not good at sort of policing. Let's put it that way. They're just not trusted, and they're rare. So
Yeah.
they're out on the rim. Blah 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 blah. So it's like, okay, you're gonna do IG for your fucking marshal. All right, choice. That's a choice.
It just seemed like the way they usually have droids, they're kind of expendable. And like I said, even when they had them before just trying to defend, they're the first thing that goes. But I guess that they could be tougher than humans, I guess. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting because I'd have been looking like, I wouldn't have been like, yay, we got a new sheriff. I'd be looking at Din like,
Well, Din's, I wouldn't say Din. I would say the writers through Din are like, oh, we set it up where
Yeah.
Karga wanted him as marshal, but we need him to go off and do other
Yeah.
adventures.
Yeah.
Need another marshal. Okay, let's have IG 11 or IG 12, whatever it is.
right.
IG 11. He's the new marshal. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then we get a nice little scene,
Mhm.
just like one shot.
Yep.
Din and Grogu out in their little cabin,
Din's on the porch,
on the porch.
smoking his pipe, his feet kicked up.
right? Grogu's playing with a frog in the pond,
Yep.
not eating it.
Nope.
We get a nice little circle wipe, like focuses in on it, and then whoop, goes to black.
Yeah.
I did see some people being like, the one thing people were kind of like hoping would happen with that scene as an alternative is that Din takes his helmet off, right? Just him and Grogu.
Yeah, yeah.
Grogu. But whatever. Din, he's fucking adopted him.
Right.
He adopted him.
But
like,
still, he's been initiated with the rule of keeping that helmet on.
Yeah, like Din's gonna hold strong to that.
Because we already know if the armor asks, "Have you removed your helmet?"
He's gonna answer honestly. He's like,
He's
"Yeah."
gonna tell the truth, so it's gonna be a problem.
I was just kicking it back on my porch, and the kid wasn't looking at me.
He got kicked out the first time because of the, showing the kid his face. So.
That's a dumb rule.
Yeah, so that pretty much wraps up the season. What is your overall thoughts of season 3? And you can compare it to the other 2 if you want to, but just for season 3, what'd you feel?
So I felt like it was a little bumpier and a little less cohesive. Wasn't bad, and it's a little bit of like they threw in really at the last minute like the clear theme. And like it doesn't even necessarily become clear until literally the last episode, where it's like Mandalorian strongest together right after the Darksaber's broken. And it's like, yeah, infighting is bad. Civil War is bad. And it's just, again, if they had sprinkled that through the whole season, right? Because like I was just glancing through like the episode list for season 1, season 2, and it's like, oh yeah, it felt like each of these things were building towards a thing, not just building towards like, oh, we gotta get Grogu back with a Jedi. Luke shows up, right? But there's like, it's a character. He took his fucking helmet off, right? Right. There's build up and payoff, and it didn't. It felt like they did They did set up in episode 7 and payoff in episode 8, right? And there just wasn't. There was tension, but there wasn't like set up and payoff, right? So clearly, starting episode 2, it's like, oh, this is the Bo-Katan show now. All right, cool. All right. So, but then we switch to the Doctor for most episode 3. And then we come back pretty much to 4, and it's like, well, is she gonna, well, I think it's the end of 3. It's like, oh, is she gonna be accepted? Oh, you got the waters, you proved it. Oh, and you were there too. All right, so you're a Mandalorian too. We don't care about any past things that you did. Oh, welcome to the covert. Oh, okay. And then it's just, how is Bo gonna fit in? But most of the tension, most of the stakes is like, oh, the kid got kidnapped. Oh, we gotta get the kid. Oh, but at the campfire, you're the war party leader. Oh, I am? Yeah, you get the honor. Oh, okay. So Paz is being less of a dick. All right, cool. We bring the kid back. Okay, great. Then the pirates attack. Bo gets to step up and show her leadership. I love that fucking in-flight briefing. In-flight briefing was awesome. But there's little in the way of sort of like personal character stakes of like, I need, here's a lie about myself that I can't let go of, I can't see through, right? There's a thing that I want from someone else that I can't get, right? If anything, like there's something smoldering in Bo, right? There's something internal like that she's struggling with, right? From the very first episode of the season where she's sitting on her throne.
Yeah.
Even she was joking. I saw in an interview like, what the hell am I doing? Like someone made a TikTok mocking it where she's like, the person was dressed up as the character, like in her back room, like drinking something, like, oh shit, someone's here. Oh fuck, let me get my stuff on, and like runs out and like lounges on the chair.
Yeah, it was awkward. It stood out to me when I saw it. I'm like, ugh.
It's one of those things where it's like there's some stories where you have a twist towards the end where it's like, oh, that's what was going on with this person that's what they were doing, that's what they were up to, or that's what they were working through. We thought they were working through something towards A, but actually they were working towards something towards Z. And now on rewatch, Like it's
Comes
like, oh, it's
together.
all there, but it's not all there. I think Katie Sackhoff knew what she was working towards, and I think her performance supports it, but it's so subtext. It's so subtext. There's no calling things out and laying out breadcrumbs for the theme, right?
Yeah.
Meh.
Okay. I like season 3. I felt it was a little disjointed. I think that I was always surprised by the things that got resolved quickly, and then the things that got stretched out. And then also the episodes like with Jack Black, that was almost kind of like you could have tagged part of that issue onto another episode, and they had like a free 45 minutes to fill in some blanks and stuff. I feel like a change happened like in the middle some kind of way, and so the breadcrumbs wasn't laid out right, and so they had some catching up to do. It was interesting. So I don't know if it was some behind the scenes stuff or whatever, but the other seasons, they seemed like they were just pretty clean. They felt like they was always on the same road. And even when it was like a quirky episode or something, it still kind of lent to the same journey. This one did too, but the way they kind of packed for each episode was like they had too much food for that trip, and they had not enough food for this one, and then this one they had too much again. So it just felt like each trip wasn't packed for correctly. It was a little, but it didn't make it a bad, season. It was a good season. It was fun.
It was just bumpy. It was
just bumpy. Yeah, this show, it struggles with the tone, and they have a nice balance, but the struggle is always going to be, you want something that's going to be, meaty and for the fans, but then you also have, the kid side. So you have the tough guy that's a killer, cop that's trying to clean up the streets, but then he's stuck with his niece that he has strapped on his chest. So he's out there taking out bad guys, but he got the baby with him. So it got to be like some comedy is going to be happening while he's trying to, clean the streets, but he's doing it with the baby strapped to him. And so it kind of handcuffs certain kind of things. And sometimes you can find a balance and the fun in it, and it works out. And sometimes you need to be more serious, but you can't because you still got the baby in the scene.
Well, the thing is, I even going back to Book of Boba Fett, the Mandalorian episodes, like the stuff dealing with Din wanting to reconnect with Grogu, and Grogu having to figure out what choice he's going to have to make. It's not done in a way where it's like written with kids' gloves. It's accessible for kids and adults, but it's also deep and meaningful.
Yeah.
Right? It's not haha blah blah blah, oh whatever, right? Like it's very solemn in its approach, right?
Right.
And I think Star Wars that's accessible to kids can be solemn and can be deep and can be impactful and still be totally accessible and not something where it's like, oh, like Andor. It's at the far end of, I think, what you can get away with and have kids find it accessible. Like, it's a lot to unpack. I think they can follow along for some of it, but
but they don't come out of the dark, kind of. It kind of always stays in the shadows the whole time and never contrasted.
The whole Jack Black Lizzo episode, that was way out of the dark. Way out of the dark.
Yeah.
That got a little cartoony and whatever. Oh, a little small last aside thing. I saw an interview with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and Dave was talking about the actual like behind the scenes origin of the Darksaber, and I had thought he created it.
Okay.
But this was when he was still collaborating with George Lucas, because it started in the Clone Wars and then made its reappearance in Rebels.
Okay.
But he said the Darksaber came about because they planned to have free Vizsla, who was going to be the one showing up with the Darksaber and leading Death Watch, and Bo was going to be, teaming up with him. He was going to have to fight Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was going to have to fight someone with a lightsaber.
Okay.
And at that time, the vibroblades were already canon, right? That's the thing you see Paz and the rest of the Mandalorians using vibrates. And those go back all the way to like Return of the Jedi. But George didn't want vibroblades to be on par with lightsabers, because then lightsabers aren't really special anymore.
Right.
If someone else can have someone and have a fight with a lightsaber,
okay.
George is like, we have to come up with something that's on par with a lightsaber so that we don't nerf lightsabers. And so they're like, well, what if there's a special Mandalorian lightsaber, right? Like, okay, and so they come up with this backstory. If there was a Mandalorian that became a Jedi and he crafted this special lightsaber, the dark saber, and that's where it came from, right? So it wasn't Dave Filoni creating the dark saber. It was a little bit of co-creating with George Lucas, because he was like, no, my cool thing needs to stay cool. You can't have this other thing be as cool as my laser sword.
Good impression.
Love you, George. But yeah, that was my last little notes of my multiple notes, tossing them in the air.
I can't toss mine. Mine's on a spreadsheet. Take the computer.
Oh man.
Well, this was kind of a long time coming, but it came together nicely. Overall, this was a good one. Made even better by our conversations about them. Just hearing your take on things as well, because sometimes you see stuff a certain kind of way and somebody else say something else that just kind of like, oh, okay. And then also having facts to to actually be like, oh, this is because of this or that goes a long way. So,
they're made up facts because it's a fictional world, but yeah, facts.
I guess if facts is true to the situation, then they are true.
Well,
right?
it's always interesting to get other people's perspectives. I mean, really on art, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, this totally works for me. It didn't work for me. Right. Well, why did it work for you? Let me try and articulate why it didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. How might it have worked? Right. Like that's always, most of the time, that's an interesting discussion.
Especially if you're not tearing something down and you're not just being malicious, because sometimes you want to dissect it so you could just make it look bad, versus just like an interpretation that you would have preferred or how you saw it. And
it's tricky, because you almost have to be dispassionate about the thing that should make you passionate, right? When it really, really works for you, you should be passionate about it. Yeah. When it really doesn't work for you, you can also be passionate about how poorly it didn't work for you. But you have to also be able to step back and just put that passion aside, and try to actually like work through why it worked, why it didn't. And some of that's like the technicalities of the craft. Yeah. And some of that's just like what you like and what you don't like, and knowing what you like and what you don't like, right?
Yeah. It's a taste thing. It's also an expectation thing. It's just the human factors in there. Because sometimes stuff could be silly as hell, but yet and still it touches you a certain kind of way, or the ending makes all the rest of the journey okay, or the journey's more important than the ending, so you forgive the ending because it didn't matter because I got all this other good stuff along the way. Right. So it just really depends on the person and I guess, like I said, interpretation of the art that they're witnessing. But 3 seasons, I think this has been pretty solid the whole time. I'm not mad at a 4th season for sure. And out of all the shows, even as much as I loved Andor, this one has a better track record only because it's been around longer. And not comparing it to Andor, because that's a whole different show.
It's a different genre. It's a different genre.
It's a whole different thing. And
right?
So,
you gotta evaluate them both on their own criteria of what they're trying to be, right?
Yeah. So this one kind of tap dances between 2 different worlds, and so for it to be this successful as far as like connecting and everything's meshed together a certain kind of way, and you still can digest it this way, I think it shows to the skills and the folks behind the scenes making it happen.
I'm looking forward to Ahsoka.
Me too.
Dave Filoni is leading the writing on that one. I mean, it's his baby, so
Do you know when it's going to be released or what they're talking?
I think it's I want to say around August or something like that.
Okay.
I think they released which month it's going to be, but I don't recall off the top of my head. It'll be a little while. We'll have some breathing room.
We say that, then we look up, it'll be another show to talk about. So it's gonna go by that fast. But I'm sure.
I mean, I did just see Guardians.
I was about to say we do have some things we could talk about in between time. So
We'll
for
save
sure,
that for another night.
yeah, for another night for sure. But yeah, I would like your thoughts on it.
So the other week, Jay texted me like, "Hey, you got a picture of you like around age 4, like, you know, getting your picture done at the mall type thing." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm not even gonna ask. I'm just gonna get a picture." I poked my mom like, "Hey, get a picture." She's like, "Here you go." Sent it on to Jay. I'm just like, "This is the level of trust I have." Just gonna send it on. He's like,
it.
I got a project. That the fucking cover. Tangent time. That is quite the throw you got there, buddy.
Yeah, man. That's what, in the 70s.
Oh man, I gotta get Aiden a haircut. Oh jeez,
that's funny. That's
hilarious.
Right, on that note, okay, so this has been Jay and Ryan discussing chapter 23, 24, The Spies and the Return. And so we thank everybody who's been on this journey with us for all these episodes and for the other shows we've been reviewing. If you haven't seen those, please go back and check those out. We look forward to you guys hear us again in the near future for the next thing that we do.
Go take a back to nap and join us for Ahsoka. Just don't have any flashbacks. No traumatic ones anyway. Happy flashbacks.
Only happy flashbacks. All right. So till next time, peace.
In the galaxy.
I thought you were going to switch it up for the last one.
I'm tired.
I don't blame you. All right. Hey, it's Jay. If you enjoyed my conversation with Ryan, please check out our episodes where we talked about The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Spider-Man No Way Home, and the movie Batman. Thanks for listening, and until next time, peace.